The Nike Air Force 1 is undoubtedly one of the greatest shoes of all time. Many people would argue that the low-cut white-on-white model is literally the definition of fresh. So fresh that if you owned a pair of AF1s in the early 2000s, then you probably remember experiencing paranoia about getting your AF1s dirty. You experienced this and thousands of other sneaker enthusiasts before you experienced this too. What makes this shoe so great? Why has it transcended years of sneaker innovation? The origin of the Nike Air Force 1 can be traced back to one man, Bruce Kilgore. Bruce was a product designer who designed household appliances and cars for much of his career. When Nike approached Bruce, he had never worked in sneaker performance design. Bruce is credited with designing iconic shoes like the Jordan 2 and the Nike Sock Racer, but his most famous and arguably his most important design was the Nike Air Force 1. One of Bruce's most memorable designs was the Nike Track Spike. Working closely with Bill Bowerman and Nike's very first employee Jeff Johnson, Bruce and the team at Nike perfected the design of the Nike Zoom Track Spike. The track shoe was a major success and it helped track and field athlete Carl Lewis win 4 gold medals at the 1984 Olympics. Back in 1978, Nike released the Nike Tailwind running shoe. It was the first shoe to ever contain the now famous Air technology that we are all so familiar with. After the success from the Tailwind, Nike decided to focus their efforts on basketball shoes. And with the growing popularity of basketball, Nike assigned Bruce the task of designing the first ever basketball shoe to contain Air technology. But the Nike Air Tech wasn't the only groundbreaking technology in the shoe. Bruce's design was to contain several innovative features. The Nike Air Force 1 was also one of the first basketball shoes to contain a cup sole, making the shoe's durability unmatched. In addition to the cup sole, Bruce developed a threaded outsole which allowed basketball players a greater ease of movement on the court. These were profound advancements in sneaker technology at the time. We can also credit the Nike Air Force 1 for bringing the renowned sneaker designer Tinker Hatfield into the sneaker game. Legend has it that Bruce Kilgore brought the prototypes of the shoe to Nike's innovation lab to have them stress tested. One of the lucky designers was none other than Tinker Hatfield. Hatfield was gifted a pair to try on the court and was dazzled by the way the shoe performed. In fact, he was so moved by Bruce's design that he decided he wanted to pursue sneaker design instead of architecture. Upon its 1982 release, the Nike Air Force 1 was only available as a high top. The original colorway featured a neutral white and gray color palette. I believe the Nike Air Force 1 was also the first basketball shoe to feature an ankle strap. I may be wrong though. If I am indeed wrong, please correct me in the comments below. One thing to note is that the shoe was inspired by a boot design, specifically the Nike Air Approach hiking boot. Nike had yet to imagine the design of the low-cut Air Force 1s that we all love. Nike's marketing campaign for the shoe included a run of ads which featured 6 of the NBA's contemporary basketball players: Moses Malone, Michael Cooper, Jamal Wilkes, Bobby Jones, Michael Thompson, and Calvin Natt. They were called the Original 6. The original ad featured an aircraft in the background because the name of the shoe was inspired by the Air Force 1 airplane, the aircraft that carries the US president around the world. In the world of footwear, the term player exclusive is given to exclusive sneakers that have been custom made for professional athletes. Sometimes it's to outfit a whole team, or sometimes it's just one player. In 1983, the low-cut profile of the Air Force 1 dropped along with a slew of PEs for the Original 6. The PEs were inspired by their team's colors and personal preferences. This is just another reason why the Nike Air Force 1 was so revolutionary. By 1984, Nike was ready to shelve the model for the next hot shoe, but 3 Baltimore area retailers at the time, Charlie Rudo Sports, Cinderella Shoes, and Downtown Locker Room, urged Nike to reconsider. The 3 retailers, later to be dubbed the 3 Amigos, started what they called the Color of the Month Club. The kids in Baltimore were becoming fanatical about the Air Force 1 and wanted more. The Color of the Month Club not only saved the AF1 from becoming extinct, it turned the city of Baltimore into a monthly destination for sneakerheads. There was lines outside the door for the shoe. The thrill of the hunt was birthed, and sneaker culture was on the rise. In the years that followed, the crack epidemic on the East Coast began destroying inner-city neighborhoods. Corporate shoe brands will never admit it, but these drug dealers set trends and inspired the youth with their newly bought cars, outfits, and most importantly, their sneakers. Eventually, in the early 1990s, with the release of the crispy white-on-white AF1s, the shoe would be unofficially endorsed by drug dealers, making an impression on young East Coast rappers like Jay-Z, Raining from Brooklyn, and Cameron from Harlem. The Air Force 1 was starting to transcend its utility as a basketball shoe, and was now becoming a status symbol in the streets. Nike sales were about to go next level. I'm sure we all remember in 2002 when St. Louis rapper Nelly dropped his hit song that he titled Air Force 1. It was a full-on anthem for the Air Force 1, and included Nelly and the St. Lunatics bragging about buying multiple pairs at a time. A nod to Dame Dash's wear it once and give it away philosophy. Nelly's Nellyville record, which included the single, sold over 1.5 million copies in 3 weeks. Nike was quick to cash in on the Air Force 1's popularity in hip-hop, and wisely began to do collaborations with rappers like Fat Joe, Young Jeezy, and Jay-Z. This also created a DIY custom frenzy. Thanks to the shoe's simple and clean design, sneakerheads all over the world were expressing themselves through flamboyant custom colorways. Even rival brands like Reebok, Bape, and Lugz began questionably ripping off the design. While the shoe is not as popular as it used to be, little has changed in terms of development for the Nike Air Force 1. Looking back at the last 10 to 15 years, Nike has invested incalculable resources into making the shoe stand the test of time, and it has. In recent years, Off-White founder Virgil Abloh has released 4 different versions of the Nike Air Force 1. Correspondingly, Samuel Ross from A Cold Wall has put his own fingerprint on the AF1 design as well. Taking cues from Bruce Kilgore's original minimalist style design, Ross transformed the shoe into a techno-dystopian version of the AF1. And together with Virgil, the two fashion giants have launched the AF1 into the high-end designer brand sphere. The Nike Air Force 1s are crispier than ever and will continue to be one of Nike's best-selling shoes. Has the iconic silhouette reached its peak? For a shoe that has been around for over 35 years, it has made a lasting impression on the youth and keeps rising in global sales. The AF1 has transcended socioeconomic classes, revolutionized basketball shoes, and created a perfect white canvas for artists to paint on. The shoe will continue to be celebrated for many years to come. What do you guys think? Do you guys think the Nike Air Force 1 is going to last the next 100 years? What's your favorite Nike Air Force 1 model? Please leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.